words of our Divine Mother from the book The Mother, Question and Answers of 1953, page 53, date 20th May 1953. Question by a sadhak. Sweet Mother, are not offering and surrender to the Divine the same thing? For this, our Divine Mother says they are two aspects of the same thing, but not altogether the same. One is more active than the other. They do not belong to the quite same plane of existence. Our Divine Mother says, for example, you have decided to offer your life to the Divine. You take that decision, but all of a sudden something altogether unpleasant, unexpected happens to you. Your first movement is to react and protest. And yet, you have made the offering. You have said once for all, my life belongs to the Divine. And then suddenly an extremely unpleasant incident happens, and there is something in you that reacts, that does not want it. But here, if you want to be truly logical with your offering, you must bring forward this unpleasant incident and make it an offering to the Divine, telling Him very sincerely, let your will be done. You have decided it that way, it will be that way. And this must be a willing and spontaneous adhesion. So it is very difficult. Our Divine Mother says, even for the smallest thing, something that is not in keeping with what you expected, what you have worked for, instead of an opposite reaction coming in spontaneously, irresistibly, you draw back. No, not that. If you have had a complete surrender, a total surrender, well, it does not happen like that. You are as quiet, as peaceful, as calm in one case as in the other. And perhaps you have had the notion that it would be better if it happened in a certain way, but if it happens differently, you find that also this is also all right. You might have, for example, worked very hard to do a certain thing so that something might happen. You might have given much time, much of your energy, much of your will, and all that not for your own sake, but say for the sake of the Divine as an offering. Now suppose that after having taken all this trouble, done all this work, made all these efforts, it all goes just the other way around. It does not succeed. If you are truly surrendered, you say, it is good, it is okay, it's all right. I did what I could, as well as I could. Now it is not my decision, it is the decision of the Divine. I accept entirely what He decides. On the other hand, if you do not have this deep and spontaneous surrender, you tell yourself, how is it? I took too much of a trouble to do a thing which is not for a selfish purpose, which is for the Divine work, and this is the result. It is not successful. 99 times of 100, it is like that, says our Divine Mother. True surrender is a very difficult thing. Next question. What is the exact way of feeling that we belong to the Divine and that the Divine is acting in us? For this, our Divine Mother says, you must not feel with your head, because you may think so, but that's something vague. You must feel with your sense feeling. Naturally, one begins by wanting it with the mind, because that's the first thing that understands. And then one has an aspiration here, and Mother points out to the heart with a flame that pushes you to realize it. But if you want it to be truly the thing, well, you must feel it. And then our Divine Mother says, you're doing something. Suppose, for example, you're doing your exercises, weightlifting. Now, suddenly, without your knowing how it happened, suddenly you have the feeling that there is a force infinitely greater than you, greater, more powerful, a force that does the lifting for you. Your body becomes something almost non-existent, and there is this something that lives. And then you will see, when that happens to you, you no longer ask how it could have been done. You will know that does happen. It depends upon people, depends upon what dominates in your being. Those who think have suddenly the feeling that it is no longer they who think, that there is something which knows much better, sees much more clearly, which is infinitely more luminous, more conscious in them, which organizes the thoughts and words, then they write. If the experience is complete, it is even no longer they who write it. It is the same thing that takes hold of their hand and makes it right. Well, one knows at that moment that the physical person is just a tiny, insignificant tool trying to remain as quiet as possible in order not to disturb the experience. Yes, at no cost must the experience be disturbed. If suddenly you say, "Oh, look how strange it is," and then it's gone. And then the sadhak says, "Sweet mother, how can we reach that state?" For that, our divine mother says, "Aspire for it, want it. Try to be less and less selfish, but not in the sense of becoming nice to other people or forgetting yourself, not that. Have less and less the feeling that you are a person, a separate entity, something existing in itself, isolated from the rest. And then, above all, it is that inner flame, that aspiration, that need for the light. It is a kind of luminous enthusiasm that seizes you. It is an irresistible need to melt away, to give oneself, to exist only in the divine. At that moment, you have the experience of your aspiration. At that moment, you have the experience of your aspiration. But that moment should be absolutely sincere and as integral as possible. And all this must occur not only in the head, not only here, but must take place everywhere, in all the cells of the body. The consciousness integrally must have this irresistible need. The thing lasts for some time, then diminishes, gets extinguished. You cannot keep these things for long, very long. But then it so happens that a moment later, or the next day, or some time later, suddenly you have the opposite experience. Our Divine Mother says, instead of feeling this action and all that, this is no longer there, and you have the feeling of the descent, the answer, and nothing but the answer exists. Nothing but the divine thought, the divine will, the divine energy, the divine action exists any longer. And you too, you are no longer there. That is to say, it is the answer to your aspiration. It may happen immediately afterwards, that is very rare, but may happen. But if you have both simultaneously, then the state is perfect. Usually they alternate more closely until the moment is there is a total fusion. Then there is no distinction. I heard a Sufi mystic who was besides a great musician and Indian, saying that for the Sufis there was a state higher than that of an adoration, surrender to the divine, than that of devotion, that this was not the last stage. The last stage of progress is when there is no longer any distinction. You have no longer any kind of adoration or surrender or consecration. It is a simple state in which one makes no distinction between the divine and oneself. They know this. It is even written in their books. It is commonly known condition in which everything becomes very quite simple. There is no longer any difference, no longer any kind of ecstatic surrender to something which is beyond you in every way, which you do not understand, which is merely the result of your aspiration, your devotion. There is no longer any difference. When the union is perfect, there is no longer any difference. And then the sadhak says, is this the end of self progress? For this mother says, there is never any end to progress, never any end. You can never put a full stop there. These are the words of our Divine Mother.